Hi, myself Naveen Kumar Sani. In the course of Wireless and Mobile Communication, code REC 085 in Unit 5, today we are going to discuss the mobile ad hoc networks and some part of IMT in the lecture number 3. So, as we are very much aware in the last section where we have discussed some part of different technology of 2G and 3G, we will come to the 4G itself, but in between that there is the one very interesting topic, that is the MANET, mobile ad hoc network. So we will discuss about the networking, how the infrastructure is inbuilt when we are talking about the different nodes are deployed. Okay, so in this some basics we must know about it, about the MANET. As we said, the mobile ad hoc network where the infrastructure will be based on the self-organized. Okay, so we cannot put a particular node at a particular place. So these nodes may be mobile, and it may be the this infrastructure will be the mobile. Okay, so in that, in this case, it is formed in the MANET. It is formed by different wireless hosts which may be mobile itself, or some of the node may be the stable, but in the MANET network the nodes will be mobile in nature. So in this second point, which is very interesting and very important, that is the pre-existing infrastructure. Okay, so first we deploy the nodes in a given area or coverage area. In that, these nodes may be mobile, and the communication between the different nodes can be takes place. So what is the procedure, or what is the steps from where the nodes can be communicate between each other? So for that we have the different routes, different routes can be followed by the different nodes, in which the maybe it may compare, I mean it can be have the different hops. I mean when we move from one node wants to communicate with the different nodes, so it may follow the different hops. So we call it as the multiple hops. Okay, so this is a point from where we want to communicate from one node to a different node in the system. So in this, the nodes, it can be as a router which forward the different packets to different nodes, and in that the node mobility, it may cause the route changes itself. So these are the some values or some points which we have to take care of. Okay, so it shows that just like in basic structure, we can see that there are different 4 nodes are there. So these are node number 1 or A, node B, C and D. So these are the 4 different nodes, and each node has a different coverage area. So here it shows that this range, this is what the coverage area for the node A. Similar to that, we have the node B. So for this node B, we have a different coverage area like this one. Similar to that, we have the node C. So for this, the coverage area is this. Similar for node D, we have the coverage area for this. So this is the case where we are assuming that we are using the any omnidirectional antenna itself. Okay, so in this, these nodes A, B, C, D, it can be because of the mobility nature of these different nodes. So these nodes can be moved in that way. So this path can be like this: A, C, B and D. Suppose A wants to communicate to D. So in that case, A have to follow the different paths. So it may follow the A, B, C and D, or it may follow the A, C and D itself. So for that one, we have a different algorithms are existing through which the different route discovery can be takes place. Okay, so this is the example which is showing due to the mobility of the different nodes, it shows that after some time the node may be placed in this way itself. So it may be changed in any location, right? So this is the that is why this is no pre-existing. So infrastructure will not be exist like that. So it is not fixed, it will be changed. Okay. So what is the requirement of the MANET and what is the advantages of that? So it shows that, so advantage, some of the advantages are, it is a low cost, flexibility, right? Second, it is easy and speed of deployment is there, and decreased dependence on the infrastructure. So this cost and the flexibility of the infrastructure will be depend how the mobile phones or mobile stations, or you can say the nodes, are deployed in the system. Then some of the applications of MANET is in the military environment. Okay, so it can be used for the soldiers, tanks and the planes, where we can deploy the different nodes, and these nodes when they find they want to send the message from one node to another node, so it will follow different paths. So in the civilian environments, so there is the vehicle network, then we have the conferences or the stadiums or outside activities in which this type of deployment of different nodes. So when I am talking about the nodes, so there are various applications of those nodes. Just for example, if I am saying I am deploying the different sensors in a field. Okay, so these sensors can communicate between each other by the different way, right? So they have to, they will send to the different, they will send the information, the packets to different nodes itself. So in the emergency operations, so search and rescue and the policing and the fire fighting. So these are the some of the applications through which the MANET can be work on this. So there are some challenges itself in the MANET system, like the collaboration. So this collaboration which are very necessary to maintain the MANET and its functionality in smooth way, or the reliable communication must be maintained. So for that purpose, the collaboration of different nodes can be must be taken place of in very serious mode. Then we have the dynamic topology. So in that first point, which is very important about the mobility. So nodes are mobile, right? So as we said in the previous case, in the previous slide itself, there is no fixed predefined infrastructure, right? So in that case, what is the meaning of that? It means the mobile will be your mobile, or mobile nodes will be in mobility. So it may shift from one location to another location. Then we have interference in the wireless communication, as we are very much aware about this. In the previous units we have covered about a different type of interferences can be takes place. And here itself in the MANET system, when the mobile phone, or you can say the different nodes or the sensors, when we deploy it, so due to the mobility or mobility nature of the nodes, so they may create the interferences of the data itself, right? So to avoid this, we have a different type of topologies itself in the case of MANET, right? So next is routing protocols. So these are the few routing protocols which are used in the MANET system. So it is characterized in the different way. So first is the proactive protocol, right? In the proactive protocol, second is the reactive protocol, and third one is the hybrid protocol. So these are three the characterization of the your routing protocols through which the discovery of the nodes can be takes place when one node wants to communicate with the another node. So in the case of proactive protocols, it determines the route. Okay, so it determines the route which is independent of traffic pattern, right? Second is traditional link state, which is distance vector routing protocols are proactive. So this is one of the very efficient, very important protocol which are used in the MANET system. So when the system is proactive in nature. So the proactive protocol will be the example for that one is a distance vector routing protocol, right? So the example of the proactive protocols are DSDV, that is dynamic sequenced distance vector, right? Second is OLSR. So this is optimized link state routing protocol. So these are two very important protocols which are used in the proactive protocols. Then we have reactive protocol. In the reactive protocol is used to maintain the routes if it is required. Okay, it maintains the route when only if it is required. So the example for reactive protocol is DSR. This is the dynamic source routing, and AODV. So this is on demand distance vector, right? So next is very important, that is a hybrid protocol. So the example for this is the zone routing protocol. So in that, this is also divided into the two parts. So it may be your intra-zone protocol, intra-zone. So that is maybe your proactive and the inter-zone, that is on demand, right? So in this we can say the example for that is the zone routing protocols. In that there is the intra-zone and the inter-zone. So the intra-zone is the proactive routing protocol and the inter-zone is the on-demand routing protocol. So these all are the some of the routing protocol characterization of the in the MANET system, right? So there is some of the trade-off when we use the different type of routing protocols in that. So some of the trade-off is like latency of the route discovery. So whenever system nodes send the request to find the different nodes, right? So for discovery of the routes, so for that one, when it is following the different multipaths, right? If it is not finding the correct shortest path and it is following the long path, so in that case the latency will be more, right? So it may happen in the route discovery, right? So in this, the proactive protocols, it may have the latency since routes are maintained at all the times, right? Similar to that, we have the reactive protocol. In that, it may have the higher latency because of a route which is from the X to Y in the case of reactive protocols, right? So this is the case when we have the proactive, it means the low latency will have, and the reactive protocols we will have the higher latency. Okay, so next is the overhead of the route discovery and the maintenance. So overhead means when we are using the extra bits for when we transmit the information. So before that we have to add on preamble some extra bits, right? So it will create the overhead of that system. So for that case, in the case of reactive protocol, it may have the lower overhead, right? So since the routes are determined only if needed. In the proactive case, in the proactive protocol, it can be result in a higher overhead due to continuous route updating, right? So but it is not very much necessary. So which approach achieves a better trade-off depends on the traffic and mobility pattern, right? So in a given system, how many nodes are there and how they are mobile, what is the speed of the nodes. So these things we have to take care of, so before using any kind of routing protocols, right? So one of the example we are just taking here, that is dynamic source routing protocol. So in that example, we will take source. Suppose we have the one source, that is node S, which wants to communicate or wants to send the packet to the node D. Okay, so in this case, S is the source and D is the destination. So challenge is, or the condition is, where the S doesn't know the path for the S. Okay, so I mean the source and destination doesn't know the path. I mean the source if wants to send to D, so they doesn't know the path. So for that one, we have to use a different type of protocols, routing protocols, and we have to initialize the routing process. So what is the process? So it follows the basically three phases. So first one in this, first is the route discovery. So first is the route discovery. After that, it followed to the route reply. Then it follows to path establishment. So these are three are the steps for following for searching source to destination path, right, to send the packet. First, what is first? Route discovery, route reply, and path establishment. So root discovery in this case, that the source node S which floods the root request, right? So this is the message signal which is transmitting from the source to the destination. So this is the REQ, this is the root request, and each node appends on identifier with forwarding the REQ, right? So this is the message which is transmitting from the source, and it will circulate to all the nodes which are in the range of source, right? So in this example, it is mentioning that S is the source. This guy wants to communicate with the D, this is the destination, but it has to follow different paths are available along with it. S is connected with the B, S is connected with the C, S is connected with the E itself. Then B will send the packet to H, and this may send to itself to I, and C may send to G, and E may send to F, and similar to that, it will follow the different paths to reach here, right? So these are different possible paths through which the source can transmit the R request towards destination, right? So it shows that the broadcasting of the transmission of signal is from the S source. So it is showing that S is the identifier which is transmitting from the S, and S is sending to B, C and D, all the three nodes which are connected with the source S, right? So here this shows that represent the transmission of the REQ, and here the X, Y represent the list of identifiers which is appended to the R request, right? REQ. Okay, so in the next step, the E will send S is the identifier which is connected here. So E will receive the identifier of S and it will connect S to E. Okay, similar to that, it will send to B, and B will send to A and H, and then S will send to S and S will send to B and E. Okay, then C will have the identifier of S, C. In the next step, we can see that when J is transmitting, so it will transmit it back to F itself. It will send to M and D. Similar to that, we have the K which will send to G and to D, and I will send to H and G. So the identifiers these are identifiers which are connected with the REQ, right? So J and K are received. So J will send to M and J will send to D. Similar to that, K will send to D only, which is because this D is connected with the K only, right? So these are the identifiers which are released or broadcast with the R request message. So this root reply, this is from the D, that is from the destination. So first, what will happen? This destination D, on the receiving the first REQ, which sends a root reply. So this is a root reply which is transmitted from the D itself. So RREP, so which is sent on a route obtained by the reversing the root appendant to the received RREQ. So this RREQ is sent from the source, broadcasted from the source, and now when different destinations may send the root reply, but our main concerned destination is D. So D will send, because this is a dedicated node through which we will to which we will send the message. We want to send a message. So for that, D will send a reply back to towards S. Okay. So this is the root reply which is sending through this path, that is your D will send to J, then F to E to S. So this is the root reply. Okay. So here it shows that in root reply, the source N on receiving the RREP is a root reply from the D, which catch the root which includes the included in the RREP. Then in this case we can say when the node S sends a data packet to D, so entire root is included in the packet header. So this packet header will include this portion itself, this identifier. So this identifier will have the message to send along with from the C to D. Okay, so it shows that the message node S will send a packet data to D, and in that case the entire route is included in the packet header. So hence we say this is the source routing, right? So intermediate nodes, which uses the source route, which includes a packet to determine to whom a packet should be forwarded. Okay, so this is the complete data delivery in the DSR, which is which follows this path from S to E, E to F, F to J, and up to D. So this is a packet header size which grows route length, right? Okay, so I hope you understood this point, and how this packet can be transmitted from source to destination, and how it follows the path from source to destination, and how to request towards different nodes which is attached with the source, and how to broadcast, and how to get the route reply and then transmission of data. Okay, thank you very much.